Good morning, guys, from Aswan. And last night I made it to an apartment here in the Elephantine Island, which is an island in the middle of the Nile River. But something I didn't actually know about when I booked this is that it's located in the middle of a farm, which is really beautiful. It's like the kind of thing I travel for, just rural sorts of things. So this right here is the village. This is still a Nubian apartment, so the people we looked for in the last episode, and this is the farm. I mean, I could spend hours, days here just at the farm. It's so peaceful. So our hosts are going to give us a traditional breakfast. After that, we're going to be heading out of Aswan up the Nile for the next couple of days towards Cairo, and we'll be searching for the Coptic language, which is another beautiful and very interesting language here in Egypt. Let's get breakfast. If you ever make your way down to Aswan, highly recommend this hotel. Very, very quaint and very, very good breakfast. That's also a plus. Alright, so we're gonna head down the village and get back on the felucca to the main side of Aswan. Then from there we're gonna be driving to Asyut, and along the way we'll be stopping at some very ancient historical sites. Alright, once we cross the street, the real road trip starts. 6 hours to Asyut, so I'll have some time to learn more about Egypt and the Arabic language. I think it's really interesting to note that Egypt itself is, most of the population lives along the Nile, which is like maybe 10 miles on each side of land, and there's about 100 million people living on that. So it makes this funny geopolitical situation where whenever you're trying to do a road trip or drive, you're always going either up or down on the Nile, unless you're going to the arid and empty desert region. So we're about 7 hours out from Asyut, and we'll be stopping at Luxor along the way, the same city we went to yesterday, but this time we'll be going to the Valley of the Kings because I didn't actually go there yesterday. And this is definitely somewhere worth visiting in Egypt. Alright, I made it to the tomb of Tutankhamun, which is obviously famous, and he's actually only famous because he was one of the only tombs to ever be found in full tact. And I mean, he wasn't actually a notable pharaoh in any way, but he was notable for the quality of the founding of his cave. So, and it was founded by Howard Carter, the famous archaeologist, in about 1920s. So let's head in. The amount of color in this thing is, like, still to this day is so amazing. Just the way that it's been preserved is just, I don't understand how. It's probably because of the lack of humidity in this part of the world. It's very dry, so the paint must have stayed on for all these thousands of years. I mean, there's so much history here, so much to be uncovered, yet it's just one of those things you someday have to cross off your bucket list to see the colorful hieroglyphs of Valley of the Kings. I wish I could read them though. Gotta learn that next. الكمامة فين؟ The mask.
الماسك لا الماسك كان
ألمانيا right?
ألمانيا.
Yes.
intelligent يا برادر.
شكرا. شكرا.
What your job?
أيوة. I'm a student. Yes.
What student for country and Egyptian here.
مدرسة ثانوية أمريكا. أنا كل أمريكي.
كذا شو؟
كل عوا. كل أمريكي. شوية. أنا أسمع. Really? ممتاز. أنا كل يوم أتمرن. بتمرن.
Very intelligent. I tell you.
جميل جدا. جميل جدا.
أنت very intelligent. حبيبي. Professor?
Yeah, أبويا.
No speak Arabic.
No.
Spanish. Spanish.
Español.
Español. They speak a little why. This is a tomb. This is a snake. This is a hole. But you told me after what you have.
الكوفن كبيرة.
أيوة.
Oh, nice. All right, we're checking out one last coffin before we head out. It's really hot today, by the way. But this one goes deep into the earth, it seems. And there might be a pharaoh with his mask still on, which I'm really excited to see because King Tut's is somewhere in Germany or in Europe. Who knows? Let's see this one.
أبويا فين ماما؟
أمريكا. أما أفريكان أمريكا.
أيوة.
الاثنين. يا. أنا بشكل مصري. أيوة.
Coptic.
قبطي.
قبطي. وده كريستيان.
So like الاثنين. or الثالث.
أيوة شايف. دي أعداء الملك Coptic.
القبطي. They killed the Coptics.
Enemies.
These ancient hieroglyphs, it's just fascinating, really. And interestingly enough, these same hieroglyphs were used to write the language that turned into Coptic, which is what we're about to look for. And it's actually an Afro-Asiatic language, which is related to Arabic, modern-day Hebrew, even Amharic, Aramaic. So it's still living in today's world, albeit under different names. But that's what's so fascinating, that after like 5,000 years, there is still evidence of this language. Right, so that was an amazing experience. Definitely would recommend it to anyone coming to Lower Egypt, or to Upper Egypt actually, to the Luxor area. I mean, it's definitely worth the, what is it, 500 pounds, so $30 US to get in. But yes, I would recommend it to anyone coming. I mean, you could definitely spend days here. That's exactly what archaeologists do. They spend their whole lives working here. But in our case, we're just gonna have to head back to the road and appreciate our 1 or 2 hours here, because we have to do our second stretch to the city of Asyut, the Coptic capital. So I guess it's time to get back on the road. Good morning from the forbidden Coptic City. I mean, just taking this video is probably not even permitted. That building right there apparently is a very, very holy place in the Coptic Christian faith. Nowadays there's just a lot of heightened security just to make sure nothing else happens, because a few years ago a couple tourists were like visiting these Coptic Christian sites and then driving elsewhere, and then like they would get kidnapped or like attacked in some way. So nowadays they just have a lot of police for the tourists that end up like giving money to the Coptics or visiting Coptic sites. So now that's exactly what we have to do. We have to get our police escort to head to Cairo. And I was gonna plan on stopping at a Coptic village along the way, but that's definitely not happening now. And when I booked this hotel, I didn't actually realize it was right next to this sacred Coptic City. I mean, it definitely makes a good story. Can't be a trip with TJ unless you have an entanglement with the police, I guess. And yesterday I tried to film something here, and they told me no. They told me to delete the footage. So if I can get this footage out, that'll be very ideal. But yeah, let's just get out of the banned city and then go to Cairo, because I'm dying to see those pyramids, not dying to die. See you guys on the road to Giza. Alright, goodbye from the city Asyut, and now we're heading to Cairo through the desert yet again. So we made it to the Marriott to have a late lunch, and the pyramids are right there. So after a long and grueling ride, had to treat myself to a nice lunch. I mean, it's probably not going to be that expensive, but it'll be worth it. It'll be worth it. So let's see. I don't think I've even filmed it yet, but mango juice is probably the best thing that I've had in all of Egypt. This stuff is extremely refreshing, and I've had it at least once a day, usually like twice or 3 times, and it's delicious. I could drink it like every day. It's so refreshing. So now we're gonna get the main meal. I ordered a chicken shawarma, so that ought to be good. Oh, and the pyramids, of course. The delicious chicken shawarma arrived, and I couldn't think of any better way to spend the day than with chicken shawarma in front of the pyramids of Giza. Bon appetit! We made it to the base of the pyramids of Egypt, and while here, it's important to know that there's a lot of guys trying to pretty much just take your money in a lot of cunning ways. So really, you just have to be very mindful of how to avoid them and just how to pretty much not lose your money to anyone. But if you can figure out a way to avoid paying everybody that you run into, then you can have a really good time. An example is these horse guys right here. They always pretty much force you to go on one of their horses or camels. All the money grabbers here. We developed a simple tactic. All you have to do is speak gibberish whenever they come up to you, and they just get really confused. So it's like a double scam. I'm gonna try to find somebody to practice this new tactic. No, la kabasni.
Me?
La kabasni.
Worker here.
No, it's a koala.
No.
تذكرة في التيكت. What?
Scandalous.
Come from where?
Scandal. الاسكندرية.
اسكندرية؟
ايوه.
طب تعالى هنا خش بالتذكرة على المتحف.
بوا؟ Successfully made it through the first one. This place is just so cool. Check that out. Thousands of years and it somehow preserved itself, even after centuries of robbery, earthquakes. Still there. Amazing. This is definitely a great way to end this episode. It started out rough. Didn't get to interview any Coptics, but I did get to experience the pyramids. I got to come to Giza. So even though it didn't go as planned, I still got to see Coptic things. I got to see the Coptic writing in the Valley of Kings. I pretty much experienced Egypt at its finest with the Valley of Kings, with the guest house, and with the pyramids of Giza.